You can't see me, can you yet? Here we go. Hopefully you can see me now. Oh, it's almost as if I've had an Easter break and I can't remember what I'm doing. Well, welcome back after the Easter break. Hi to all of you out there. I'm Jo, member of the Dux Soup marketing team, and I'm joined by our favourite resident LinkedIn guru and head of our professional services, Giles Garnett, who's there with me. Today's session is focused on Dux Soup Pro, our lowest budget solution. So it's a great way to get started using LinkedIn automation to help you send LinkedIn connection invitations and messages to grow your network and uncover your leads. Today's audience is a mix of existing pro users who are looking for a refresher class and lots of you who are new to LinkedIn automation. So I think you're possibly looking to understand more about how it works, which Giles will unveil shortly. Whatever your reason for joining us today, make sure you stick around to the end when we will answer all of your burning questions. And I'll also be sharing a link for a free trial too. If you're not familiar with how our sessions work, let me give you the lowdown. You'll all be on mute, but if you do have questions, please add them into the question box on the GoTo dashboard, and we'll get to them either during the session or in the Q&A at the end. The recording will also be available later today and will be sent to you via email. So now let's get started, and I will disappear stage right or left and hand over to John.
Excellent. Thank you ever so much, Jo, and hopefully everybody can hear me well. So hello, good morning, good afternoon, or indeed good evening to anyone, wherever you may be in the world and whenever you may be watching this, of course. And thank you for joining us in the latest of our series of free webinars. For anyone who's new to Dux Soup or these webinars, my name's Giles and I'm head of professional services here at Dux Soup. And today we're going to focus, as Jo has already mentioned, on the functionality and value of Dux Soup Pro. For anyone who's been paying attention, this will actually complete our set of in the series of getting started with the different version of Dux Soup editions. We covered the new cloud version around 6 weeks ago, the turbo version a month ago, and now we're going to be covering Pro to complete the set. We've got a very active user base of Pro users. We want to make sure that this topic was going to make sure that everyone gets the most out of the product, and it's also a very good way to introduce new users to Dux Soup. Just heard from Jo. She'll be answering the questions on the chat, and anything else will come to me at the end, of course. And it's always being recorded, so the recording will be sent to you in due course. So the agenda for today, let's crack on. Oh, I should have had the title slide up, shouldn't I? That would have been helpful, wouldn't it, for everyone? But there we are, getting started with Dux Soup Pro. The agenda for today, what we're going to cover. We're going to just very quickly cover what is Dux Soup. We're going to cover a couple of LinkedIn basics, which is useful. It's always useful to refresh for anybody. We're going to talk about why Dux Soup Pro. We're going to look at two levels of functionality within Pro. We're going to look at the basic functionality with a simplified menu, and then we'll look at the advanced functionality with the expert menu options there as well. So first of all, what is Dux Soup? For anyone who's new, it's a Chrome extension. It's compatible with other Chrome-based browsers, which you can use to mimic human behavior on the LinkedIn platform. And that's the free version of LinkedIn, the Sales Navigator version, or indeed the Recruiter version. You basically define the list of people that you want to target, and then you Dux Soup to carry out your chosen activities. And from a keeping your LinkedIn account safe point of view, it mimics human behavior. It literally mimics the clicks of the mouse on the screen as it goes through, following all of your rules as you define them. So we're going to 2 slides of LinkedIn basics. For anyone who, this is kind of LinkedIn 101. Every action you perform on LinkedIn creates a notification somewhere. So one of the things before you use Dux Soup Pro or Cloud or Turbo, or even just using LinkedIn, having a well-presented profile page is the most simple, most easy win possible. Make sure you've updated your profile page, because everybody who goes to your profile page, you want them to be engaged. Make sure you've got your relevant profile photo, your background, your headline, your skills, experience. And one of the things that we've seen people doing more and more, depending on what they're doing, is updating their headline periodically, depending on what you're doing, what your target audience is, whether you're recruiting or whether you're doing something else. Update that headline, because everyone who you visit or everyone who engages with you will see that headline. And I can't say this enough, be active. Comment, like, share, engage on LinkedIn. It all adds to your reputation on the platform. Once you've done that, then now the next 2 most important questions that you need to think about is who and what. So first of all, who are you targeting? So who are you targeting and how are you finding those people? What lists of data are you using? How are you finding those people, whether that's in regular LinkedIn, in Sales Navigator, in Recruiter, or maybe you're finding them via other platforms? And then what are you going to do to engage with those targets? What messages are you sending them? What are you doing to engage with them? Are you just visiting them? Are you sending them content? Are you sending them a message? So always think about this, and we'll come back around to this at the end of the session a little bit as well and touch upon the importance of matching together your lists, your target audience, and your content. So do have a think about that as we go through. Why Dux Soup Pro? Okay, Dux Soup Pro is the lowest price of our paid versions of Dux Soup. We've got Pro, we've got Turbo, and we've got the Cloud Edition now. The Pro version is coming up now for 10 years old. It's of course evolved over that time. We've added features, etc., but it's coming up to 10 years old. It's incredibly well established. It's an automated LinkedIn outreach tool, which allows you to add personalization to your connection requests, your direct messages, your in-mails. You can scan lists for quick data collection, and you can even upload lists. You can tag prospects and organize your prospects accordingly. So there's a huge feature set there available with Dux Soup Pro. You've got to be organized in how you use it to get the most out of it, and hopefully that's how we can facilitate that through today's session as well. So let's start with the basic functionality. We have a simplified menu. When you first install Dux Soup, you get the simplified menu, which covers most users' requirements. It's amazing. Most people just want to focus on growing their network, i.e. sending connection requests. So that is what we enabled here within the simplified menu. We can do that incredibly easily. And of course, if you're using the simplified menu, you get the default options in the background regarding throttling and speed, etc., etc. So what we'll do is we'll just jump out of the slides a second. I'll demonstrate what you can do with the simplified menu, because some people, that is enough. That's what they want to do, and they want to make sure that they can get the most out of the tool as quickly as possible. So let's jump out of the slides and head to LinkedIn. Maybe familiar to some of you, you never know. Right, so here in LinkedIn, and I said every webinar, and apologies for anybody who's seen this before. This is me on LinkedIn. Please do feel free to send me a connection request. Very happy to engage with any Dux Soup users on the platform. Just ping me a connection request. Mention Dux Soup in your message. Very happy to be connected to Dux Soup users, of course. So when we're in LinkedIn, you'll see here in the top right hand corner, I've got my Dux Soup extension installed, and I've got the red Dux Soup icon. It's the professional edition. Now, basically, whenever I go and carry out some sort of a search, so let's just go and do a very quick search here in regular LinkedIn, just for simplicity. We'll just do a quick search for some people. What I'm waiting for now is my Dux Soup icon to turn green, because at that point I know that it's found a list of prospects that I can automate against. We'll run it against this list in a second. When it turns green in a moment. There was a little bit of a time delay when we're running through the webinars because of all the other software that's running, but we'll just wait for a second for the icon to turn green. Please do talk amongst yourselves. No, there we go. It's turned green and it's now set at your service. So now with the simplified menu, I have three options. I could connect to people, I could send them a message, I could scan the list. And hello, Andreas, if you've just sent me a message. If I wanted to connect to people to this group of people, I could press the connect button. I then got here the option to send a direct connection request to these people. I can use _FN_ for first name, etc., etc. There you are, hi _FN_, and I've got here my connection request message. Up to 300 characters in this case. Now, there are some limitations around the number of characters you can send in a connection request message, and you'll see that more and more, especially if you're running a free LinkedIn account. So just be aware of that. We'll park that one maybe for questions and answers, question Q&A at the end, but be aware that there are instances where free users get limited to 200 characters here. So just be aware of that one. If I was to do this now, I'd press OK, and then Dux Soup would start at the top of the list and it would work its way down, sending this connection request message to everyone on this list. So that's the simplest way to send connection requests. There's some default settings on the number that Dux Soup will do per day. And remember, in order for Dux Soup to mimic human behavior, it will have to You have to keep your Chrome browser open somewhere on your screen. It can be behind everything, but it has to be there. So that's our very, very simple way to send connection requests out. Now, if I wanted to look at, for example, a list of first degree connections, so let's just change our search result here now to first degree connections. There we are. I've got a list of people who I'm already connected to now. I'm now going to wait for the icon to turn green again, because I've now got a new list. And these are people who are already in my network. Once the icon turns green in a second, again, it's going to just, of course, there we go. Now, if I press the button here, because these are now first degree connections, I could use the simplified menu here to send all of these people a message, write a direct message and send it to the profiles on this list. So if I press message here now, so here, this is a message to existing first degree connections. So I've got now 3,000 characters to use. So here I can write a message such as, hey, we've been connected for a while and blah, 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 blah. There's a message there with a link to a LinkedIn post for people to look at. I could now send this message out to everyone. I can press OK here, and Dux Soup again would start at the top of the list and work its way through and send this message to the people on this list. And again, that's the most simple way to use the direct messaging functionality, direct messaging being messages to first degree connections. Remember, we can do this in regular LinkedIn or in Sales Navigator. There's no difference there. Finally, on the simplified menu, we can use Dux Soup to scan a list. And scanning a list is getting Dux Soup to take the high level data that we see here on the screen and basically create one line of data per entry in this list. Scanning is a way of gathering, for example, LinkedIn URLs, first name, last name, where they work, and the industry. It depends which list you scan as to what data you get in there. But if I press scan here now, then Dux Soup would start at the top, and it would be a lot quicker because it wouldn't be opening each profile in turn. It would be literally just skimming off the high level data here that we see on the screen. I'm not going to set it off to scan at the moment because I already scanned some data earlier, and I'll show you that a little bit later on. So those are the things that we can do with the simplified menu. If I just go to my Dux Soup options here in the top right hand corner, which many of you will be familiar with, because we're running the simplified menu, we have a limited number of options here. We've got some skipping rules, most of which I think you'll be familiar with. If we need to cover them in the Q&A, then we can do. We have the planner, which still allows us to determine when we're happy for the robot to send out messages and carry out actions, of course. And then we've just got a couple of settings here regarding the user as well. And this is actually where we can go to switch between the simplified or regular menu and the expert menu. So that's your simplified version of Dux Soup Pro. If there's questions around that, get them into the questions box. But we'll now move on to, hopefully, all things being well. There we go, we've done the basic functionality. We'll now talk about the advanced functionality, the other things that you can get Dux Soup to do, Dux Soup Pro to do. With the expert menu enabled, it's very similar again. We have just a different set of actions that are available to us. We've got more options available to us, and we'll run through those each step by step, hopefully covering as many of them as possible. Some of the things that in particular that are available here, we can use Dux Soup then to just visit profiles, for example. We can use Dux Soup for tagging. We can send in-mails. It opens up the possibility to create custom lists and use what we call the revisit menu as well. So we're going to cover all of this now by demoing all of those steps, how we can go from the basic menu to the expert menu, and then walking through each of those options in turn. It's being recorded, so you can always watch it back and pause, so you can do it step by step, of course, but hopefully we'll cover as much in this webinar as possible. So first things first, let's go back to our list of prospects here. We'll go to our second degrees rather than our first degrees there. So we'll go back there. And what we're going to do is first, before we do anything else, rather than having our simplified menu, we're going to enable our expert menu. So we'll press expert, switching to the advanced options panel. There we go. And there we are. That's opened up all of the options that, yeah, for many years, a lot of users have been familiar with and thinking, oh my goodness, that's all disappeared. Well, it's just to do with the version of menus that is available. Now that we've done that, we can see that we've got all of these automated actions available to us here. And essentially how Dux Soup works is whichever of these actions here I enable, I would get Dux Soup to perform those during what we call an auto visit. So for example, if I just wanted to auto visit people on my list, so just open each profile in turn and then move on to the next one. If I go back to my list of prospects here, my managing directors who are second degree connections, if I click on my Dux Soup icon, I could now just say, visit the profiles. Dux Soup would open each profile in turn, close it, open, close, and it would gather data for me. I can get Dux Soup to gather data around those profiles as it goes, which I can then download at a later date. That's basically cached in your browser. You can download that data, and it will continue to accumulate in there until you press the clear data button there. That's just clearing your data cache. It doesn't remove your history or anything like that. It just removes the data cache. We'll show you that data in a minute. I can also still do visit and connect here. That can still do that as I did before, and I can still scan. So that's all there as well. But during a visit, profiles or visit and connect, any of these options here I could enable. So as it said, yeah, I could visit and connect. I could send my direct message here to prospective new connections. I could send a personalized message to my first degree connections using regular LinkedIn or Sales Navigator. If I'm using Sales Nav or Recruiter, I could be sending an in-mail. So I can use Dux Soup to send an in-mail to people. I would do that by going to my Sales Navigator account, for example, going and finding a search result. Again, here now we're just doing our save, finding a search result. I'm waiting for the Dux Soup icon here to turn green, and once it's turned green, if I wanted to send these people an in-mail, it'll turn green at any minute now. Yeah, and once it does turn green, I can just say to Dux Soup, visit these profiles, and during that, each of those auto visits, it would then send my in-mail, because that's the option that I've got enabled here. So I'll go here, I can say, right, please Dux Soup, go and visit those profiles, starts at the top, follows my rules. Of course, you've got limited in-mail credits, so just be aware of that as well. We've got a fantastic in-mail workaround, which allows you to target everybody with an open link profile. Please do have a look at the blog posts for that. If Joe's on the ball, she may be able to find that link and chuck it into the chat box for us. If you go to the blog post and type in in-mail, you'll see five tips, I think it is, that again, great results around in-mails. Absolutely brilliant little workaround there to get. I've seen people send out up to 400 in-mails a month using that trick and getting phenomenal response rates. So just have a look at that one if you get a chance. So we could be sending connection request, a direct message. We could be in-mailing. We could also be using any of these other options here. Now, the reason that these are all now hidden in the simplified menu is because they're not used as extensively as those other ones. But one of the things I always say to people, if you're using Dux Soup to organize you, to try and sort of keep a track of where you are with people, one of the functions that I do encourage people to make use of, especially using Dux Soup Pro, is this tag profiles as. So you can add effectively a label to people as you carry out an action. For example, and we'll just go through a use case here. So say you've got a list of first degree prospects. So let's go back to our first degree connections here who are managing directors. There we go. We've got our 466 people here. Maybe these are all people that you want to reach out to regarding an event, or maybe you've got a blog post or something like that you want to get out to these people, and you want to send them all a message. So great, you'll say, right, I'm going to send my personalized message here to all of these people. Now, one thing I would always do when I'm doing this is I would give them a tag. And yeah, here we go, I've got one there called campaign 1. And the reason I want to do that is because every person who then gets this message gets this tag. And that then enables us to do something else as well. It enables us, I'm going to just copy that tag a second. It enables us to go into our skipping rules here and say, right, if anyone's already got that tag, please skip them. That way I can make sure I don't accidentally duplicate my message to somebody. It's a really useful way of sort of controlling and keeping track as to who's getting what message. So if you have, for example, a direct message to send to your network, give it some sort of a label, tag, and then make sure that you're skipping people who've already got that tag, because then you aren't going to be in danger of sending the same message out to people. There's nothing worse than sending the same message out to people repeatedly, because that just looks like you're using automation, which of course we don't want people to believe. We want to make people think this is a genuine message from yourself. So that's one way to use your skipping and your tagging options there. Now, when it comes to tagging, as you tag profiles, so let's just very quickly show you here. If we just, for example, open this this profile here a second, we'll just wait for the Dux Soup widget to appear at the side. We can then add a tag to this particular individual, and then I'll show you how that manifests itself within Dux Soup. Just wait for a moment. It's always the same when I'm doing a webinar. Everything just slows down a little bit thanks to the GoTo software, but there we go. There we go. So here we are. We've now got our Dux Soup tricks. Now, as well as adding tags automatically by sending a message, I could also be tagging people manually. So there, I've given this guy campaign 1 tag. There we go. And I can hide that if I want to. I can also delete that tag if I wish to there as well. But what does that then mean in reality? So say, for example, I'd been through this list. I'd sent 466 people my direct message. They'd all had the campaign 1 tag. Maybe I want to then send them all a reminder in a few weeks. Now I can do that using the search by tag option. Remember, this is only available if you're using the expert menu. We go to our search by tag option here. We can go in here and we say, well, who's got campaign 1 tag? Oh, there you are. There's only one person at the moment because I just manually added it. Of course, if I had my 460 odd people here, I'd see all of those here in this list. And the great thing about this is, in a moment, the Dux Soup icon will turn green, and I can then run my chosen Dux Soup actions from here as well. So we can start to build up a pattern or a campaign, if you like, of messages to people. And this is always going to take a bit longer when I'm talking on a webinar. So there we go. I could now again get Dux Soup to visit these profiles, send them a message, add a new tag to them, for example. So that way I can do all of these things in turn, building up my library of tags, and seeing here who's got which tags, who's not got which tags. I can build up all sorts of different pictures depending on what I'm doing with my prospects. So that's tagging. We've talked about some of the functionalities here. We can be sending connection requests, personalized messages, in mails. We could be tagging. So all of these options here are available to you during an auto visit. Now, one thing we talked about earlier was scanning. So if we scan a list of data, let's go back to our, oh, where's my mouse gone? There it is. If we scan a list, scan some data, or we even visit profiles, that's going to make some data available to us here. And I press this download data button here. We can see here that I've got a bunch of data that's cached here in the browser. I can then download. So I've got some scan data, I've got some visit data, and this is basically all of the profiles that I've been visiting recently. Now, one of the things to be aware of, if you want to make sure you're getting this data and it's available to you, you have to go to your Dux Soup options and make sure here that you are recording the profile data. Some users, this is not always enabled. Just make sure you double check it. So here under the browser, in the expert settings, make sure you're recording the profile data. You can then make sure that you can, for example, download your scan data. There we are, I've just downloaded that, or indeed the visit data. Once you've done that, you've got a CSV file full of URLs. You've got a big library of LinkedIn URLs with lots of data in there. And if we just for example, where are we? Let's just open that one a second. Hopefully it'll open properly. You never know. There we go. So we can see here, I've got a load that I scanned earlier this year, but if I go down to the bottom of this page here, we'll see here ones that maybe I haven't scanned any yet today on this computer. Okay, so this was some profiles that I scanned in January this year. You can see here, I get the LinkedIn ID, I get the time that I've scanned them, I get the URLs, I get first name, last name, where they work, other bits and pieces of data. It depends where I've scanned them. Different lists give us slightly different data, but usually there's enough data here to be able to sort of decide who you want to visit, who you don't want to visit, for example. Once we've got our CSV file there, what we can then do is we can edit that, we can play around with it, and we can then build a custom list, CSV file, for example, and we can then use this button here, the revisit data. So we can upload a file for revisiting. Click on here. We now can put our file in here. So let's go and find that file. It should be here under our downloads. There we go. There we go. So this is my list of prospects. Now we can see here that some of these I scanned in Sales Navigator. Go further down, we'll find some of them are regular LinkedIn URLs. But essentially now I've got a custom built list of targets, which I may have found in different sources. It could have come from other platforms. It could have come from a CRM. It could have come from anywhere. But now essentially I can again run my visit or visit and connect and any of those other options that I want to select against this list. I'm not just restricted to running from lists in LinkedIn. I can now explore further possibilities of creating custom lists. Now, there are some further steps you can go down here with regards even customizing certain fields, text fields within your messaging. Do have a look at that on the blog posts. If I remember rightly, if I remember when we're doing the Q&A towards the end, I'll try and dig out one of the blog posts which refers to that, because you can add in some custom fields to your messaging if you add them into your spreadsheet here. But hopefully here, this gives you an idea as to how you can then make use of these custom lists. Again, you can scan lists in Sales Navigator, in regular LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be a search result. One of the great things about Dux Soup, and this is Pro, Turbo, Cloud, whatever, you can run it against all sorts of different places. Now, I've shown you here just search results in Sales Nav and in regular LinkedIn. We could, for example, run Dux Soup against, there we go, people who've reacted to a post. All of these people here have reacted to this post. Great, I could wait for a second and then Dux Soup icon's going to turn green and I can run Dux Soup against this list here. It will turn green in a second. We can run Dux Soup against event attendees. It's a really, really handy one. We can run it against group members. We can run it against page followers. There you are, it's turned green. I could now do my visit and connect, scan, whatever I wanted to do. We can run it against the list of people who are in your network. You can run it against the search results. Say, event attendees is a great one because, you know, if you're registered for an event, you see who's in that event, and then you can run Dux Soup against that and gather the data about people who are attending an event. People only attend events or register to attend events if they have a specific interest. You can run it against, yes, say page followers, employee lists, alumni lists. If you go to a college or university or education establishment, you can go to the alumni section, you can run Dux Soup against there. So there's endless possibilities, and you can scan those lists, build custom lists out of those scans, and then come up with a really refined list as well. Searching and filtering is absolutely absolute key to being able to target correctly, and again, we've got a great blog post about that. Right, let's head back to the slides a second because I want to make sure we've got enough questions for. Oh, that's awesome, Joe. I just see you. It's like you're reading my mind. You're sharing these links as I mention them. It's brilliant. So let's head back to the slides a second. We've done the advanced functionality demo as well there. Your Dux Soup Pro highlights. I can't reiterate it enough, and I say it on almost every single webinar, so people probably get bored of me saying it. Search criteria, targeting, finding lists. It's just so important. The more effort you put in up front, the better results you're going to get out at the end. 3-4 years ago, you could send out hundreds of connection requests a day, and you could do the scattergun approach. Now you're much more limited as to how many connection requests and messages you can send out on LinkedIn, depending on the type of account you've got, of course, and the size of your network. But the more effort you put in there, the better targeted people are, the better the results you'll get. You can send your personalized connection requests. You can send direct messages for first degree or in mails. You can tag people. You can skip people depending on the criteria. You're scanning, downloading, and revisiting. And then on the account safety side, we've not touched on it too much because we do cover it on almost every webinar to some degree, account safety. You've got the throttling options, you've got the planner. Remember, for those newcomers to Dux Soup and to LinkedIn, you've got some very basic simplified menus which help you to sort of see the wood for the trees. You don't want too much clutter. You want to keep it simple. You've got those, the connection request, or you've got the messaging, or you've got the scanning. It's nice and straightforward. For those people who are a bit more comfortable, got more familiar with the UI, etc., you've got the expert settings, which allow you to unlock those further possibilities. So do be aware of the differences and why they're there. They're there to help you. But of course, if you are stuck, we do have an amazing support team on hand who can help you untangle things if you need assistance. That was everything I was going to talk about for today. Joe, do you want to just mention what's on this slide?
I do. Where am I? Here I am. If you've enjoyed today's webinar and found it useful, or if you're an existing user and you love what Dux Soup has to offer, then please leave us a GT review. You can see Tracy Enos here. She has been one of our guest webinar presenters before. We've got an amazing case study as well from Tracy, and she loves a nice cap. So she's sporting one of our caps there. So not only will you be rewarded with a cap for putting a review on there for us, you'll also be helping people just like yourself to understand more about the product and how it can help their outreach journey. So yeah, the more reviews we get, the better it is for everybody to understand, you know, how the tool is used, how it benefits different businesses, different people. So yeah, go copy the link. I'll pop it in the chat now, and you can click on it, save it, and pop a review in there for us, please.
Spread the word.
Spread the word. Right, let me just pop that in the chat now, and then we will start on some of the questions that we've had, if that's okay, Joaz?
Of course.
Of course. Right then, bear with. Pronunciation, obviously, a little bit awry here, apologies. Yahweh has asked, can you scan groups and alumni lists with Pro and send messages out to them? So that's about specific groups.
Yes, you can scan groups and alumni lists. So it's just feels like we should demo that though, doesn't it? Now remember, one of the things that you have if you're in regular LinkedIn and you've got a group, you know, so here we are, I'm a member of this particular group. If you go and you have a look at the list, this is a group members list. Now I could search this list, so I could narrow it down a little bit, but I've got limited search capabilities here in regular LinkedIn. And if I scroll down this list, it's what do you call it? Evolving list. No, it's not an evolving list. It's a never-ending list. It's a scroll list. It loads up as you scroll down. So if you try and scan this list, you're never going to actually get all 22,000 here. At some point, Dux Soup will time out. If you're a member of a group, your best place to go is actually Sales Navigator. Find the list in Sales Navigator, and then you can add other search criteria in here, and you can scan that list there. It's a much better place to go to do that. So just be aware of the difference between looking at a group member list in regular LinkedIn and Sales Navigator. An alumni list, yeah, absolutely. If we go to, I don't know, let's go to my old university, why not? Hey, if we go to this one, and we go to the alumni page here. In a moment, there we go. I could now add filters here at the top. And again, the Dux Soup icon will turn green. Again, it's an endlessly scrolling list, so it will time out at some point, but you can at least add filters in here, locations, what they do, where they work, etc., etc. So you can put a lot more filters in here than you can in a group list. Absolutely, you can, the icons turn green, I could now scan this list, and you can do that in Pro, absolutely, yes.
Okay, good. And that segues really nicely into Muriel's question. What's the difference between the use of Dux Soup Pro with standard LinkedIn versus Dux Soup Pro with Sales Navigator?
So Dux Soup Pro works in the same way on both platforms. You visit, or you visit and connect, you visit and carry out some actions. Of course, if you've got Sales Navigator, that gives you the possibility to send in mails. So that opens that possibility up there. But there's also a huge number of extra search criteria filters here in Sales Navigator when compared to regular LinkedIn. Also, and this is something that we're seeing more and more, and it doesn't have to be Sales Navigator, be aware of that. If you're using a free version of LinkedIn, LinkedIn are limiting the amount of activities that you can carry out on their platform. If you're using LinkedIn for commercial purposes and LinkedIn think you're doing that, then they will limit how much you can do. That you won't be able to send so many connection requests, you won't be able to carry out so many searches as you used to be able to. If they believe you're using it for commercial purposes, they will push you to a premium account. That does not mean you have to go for Sales Navigator. There are various other tiers between free LinkedIn and Sales Navigator. There's a career one, there's a business pro, there's other, I can't remember what the terminology for them all are, but I think the individual career one is the cheapest one, and I think that is something in the region $30 to $35 a month, whereas Sales Navigator is at least twice that amount, depending on where you are in the world and bits and pieces, and depending on what well, some of the pricing, it sort of seems a little bit which way the wind's blowing when it comes to LinkedIn, to be honest. But yeah, Sales Navigator does unlock many more possibilities. One of the other big differences is as well, actually, that's something I should point out. When you carry out a search in regular LinkedIn, we go back to my managing director search here. Where was it? It's going to take a moment. When you carry out a search like this, LinkedIn are only showing you 1,000 results. You get 10 results per page and 100 pages. In Sales Navigator, you get 25 results a page and 100 pages. So you see the first 2,500 results here in Sales Navigator. Something else to be aware of as well. One of the other great things about Sales Navigator is you've got this handy little feature down here whereby you can actually say to LinkedIn, yep, exclude them if you already messaged or viewed them, so you can always find new prospects. That's a really handy one that we see a lot of people using. Okay.
Thank you very much. So Edward has asked, what happens if I forget to add a tag and I want to add it later to the contact? How is that possible, or is it?
You'd need to go back and revisit them and add that tag. That would be the easiest thing to do. You know, just go back to that list and just auto visit them and add the tag. You could go back and do it manually, of course, but that would be probably painful and slightly time consuming. I would recommend just, yeah, go back and say, right, okay, this is the list of people I want to tag. You just go into your, you make sure you've got the expert menu enabled here. So you've got the option to just visit people. So here I've turned everything off. I would tag them here. I'd go back to my list and I'd say to Dux Soup, right, just go and visit these people. And during the visit, they would get the tag. One thing you may need to check as well, depending on how recently you've done this, you'd also probably have to check under your skipping rules what your history skipper is set to as well. You know, make sure that it's set to the correct setting depending on how recently you visited them, because Dux Soup will remember when you visited them and it would skip them if it was set up there.
Okay, that's great, thank you. Here's a good question relating to language. So what if so this is from Muriel again, what if in your network there are French speaking people and English speaking people? Can Dux Soup make the distinction between them?
No.
No.
So, your best bet here is actually to use a filter here. I think it's still in here. There you are. What language is their profile in? Okay. I would use this filter here. It's available in regular LinkedIn and Sales Navigator, I believe. What language are they using in their profile? And then come up with two different approaches. So run one against the French language and have a message for those people. Let that run, let it finish, and then switch to the alternative, whether that's English or German or whatever it may be, and then have a separate activity for those people. That's how I would do it anyway if I was using Dux Soup Pro. And I would also make sure I use tagging so that I have traceability as to how I've reached out to people as well.
Okay. Now going back to tagging again, this is from Dale. Is there a way to delete a tag from the tag library? So if you've got a tag on there that you... Not
with Dux Soup Pro, no.
Okay, so is that available with
we've all made those mistakes, those typos. Yes. It might be worth an email to our support team. They may be able to help you out on the back end. But yeah, through the functionality of Dux Soup Pro, we can't edit tags, no.
Okay, can that be done in any other Dux Soup version?
In Dux Soup Turbo and Cloud, you can edit your tags, yes. Okay,
so Dale, the answer to that is not in Pro, but Turbo and Cloud. but yes, as Giles said, if you get in touch with the support desk, they might be able to do something for you. Let's see. Does Dux Soup know how to stop sending out, or when to stop sending out requests when it's approaching the pending request limit, or is that something we have to constantly monitor?
No, so yeah, there's quite a lot to unpack in that very short question. There is no official pending connection request limit.
Okay.
Every account in LinkedIn has different, well, everyone has a different size of network, a different profile, a different rating as far as LinkedIn are concerned. And the way that LinkedIn algorithms work, as far as we can tell, you know, there is a relationship between the size of your network, whether you've got a free account or a paid account, how many connection requests you're sending out, what your acceptance rates are like, how many people are reaching out to you to connect with you, and indeed what your social selling index is. And if you don't know what your social selling index is, then maybe Joe can add the link to that. Everyone can access their social selling index irrespective of whether you're on a free account or a paid account, but it's very well hidden if you've got a free account. So if Joe can add the link to that one into the chat box, that would be amazing. There is, yeah, so Dux Soup, basically there are daily limits. So if you go into your Dux Soup options, you can see what your daily limits are, and the default is, I think, 25 invites per day. You can change that. If you change it, you do it at your own risk. If you get any warnings from LinkedIn, Dux Soup will snooze automatically. So it will recognize if there's a pop-up that comes from LinkedIn to say you're out of invites for now, please try again next week. Dux Soup will pause, and we've done entire webinars on this, but just to show you, if we go to our Dux Soup options here, you can only access this if you've got your expert user type enabled. Here under the throttling settings, this is where you can control under your daily limits here, this section here, where how many connection requests you send per day, how many direct messages, etc., you send per day. You can see here that under the LinkedIn invitation limit, there we are, this section here, I last triggered a warning on the 10th of February last year. That was the last time I triggered a warning, and Dux Soup snoozed for a day when I reached that, and then it carried on again. The reason there's no definitive limit to how many connection requests you can send out is because we can't control when people accept. You know, we can send out our messages, maybe we could send out 50 invites today and nobody will accept, and then maybe tomorrow we can send out another few and then we'd hit the limit. But at some point between yesterday and today, a bunch of people may have accepted our connection requests, in which case you find you'll be able to do more. So it's a continually moving target, which the link which I suspect that Joe is putting in into the box in a second about keeping your LinkedIn account safe. The blog post that we have there, it's based upon 10 years of gathering knowledge about this, of understanding how LinkedIn works and understanding how all those algorithms work and all those different things that we know about. So it's worth 10 minutes of your time having a flick through that article to give yourself a good understanding as to what will influence all of these things.
Thank you very much.
Very short question.
Thank you. I'm just typing another response, just bear with me. We've got one question left. This is from Dale again. Let me just vet it before I say it. You've kind of touched on it a little bit, but I'll read it out anyway. What do you think a reasonable connection rate is? I'm generally finding that for a well-crafted request, carefully targeted, I'm getting an acceptance rate of about 7 to 8%. Is that good, bad, or average? That's from Dale.
Hi, Dale. I'd say that's relatively low, to be absolutely honest. Normally, I mean, I ran a test campaign last year over a number of weeks, which I've talked about on several webinars before, where I achieved a 47% acceptance rate. But remember that, you know, I don't know what your industry is. I don't know anything about the background. I'm not entirely sure where you're based or anything like that. So every case is different. Now, it could be that You know, because I have seen certain instances where achieving 10% is amazing. You know, there are some industries where when you get 10%, that is a really, really good result. So it's difficult to say that that's good or bad, but it sounds on the low side to me. If I go and just visit, for example, 200 profiles, and I have my visibility settings set to everyone can see that I visited them, I would expect to get somewhere between 5 and 8% of people sending me a connection request. That's with me just visiting people. Therefore, 7 to 8% acceptance rate on a campaign to me sounds on the low side, but you'd have to give us some more details, and maybe you could reach out to our support team and we can have a look a bit further to see if there's anything we can do to assist there, to see if, you know, if it's messaging or targeting or how the filtering's working there, to see if we can maybe get a small increase in, or big increase on that number, because yeah, I'd like to see a higher number than that ideally, I think.
I also think there's probably some details around the connection, the different types of connection request you could be sending. Perhaps it's, I'm just trying to think.
There are some industries where blank connection requests work really well, and it, you know, depends on what your profile looks like as well. You know, some people swear by sending a blank connection request. They don't want to put a message in there, and they get really good response rates. Cool. Yeah, no problem, Dale. Good that yeah. Ping support a message and say that, yeah, you brought up the question in the webinar, and we'll see what we can do. And if we need to exchange some ideas, then we can do.
Okay, that's fab. Thank you.
I've just seen a question come in from Eric as well.
Yeah.
If I may, will Dux Soup automatically reply once a prospect accepts an invite? 1 visit, 2 ask connect, 3 send message. For that functionality, Eric, you would need Dux Soup Turbo or Dux Soup Cloud. Pro will not auto send messages after certain actions. For that sort of functionality, you would need the campaign features, and the campaign features are only available in the Turbo or the Cloud editions.
Fabulous. That brings us to the end of the questions round.
I'll let you do this one then.
I do that one. I do that one. Yeah, so super excited to announce that our next webinar on the 16th of April is all about the launch of our cloud agency dashboard. So the dashboard will give you around the clock, around the globe, uninterrupted LinkedIn automation, so you can manage unlimited client LinkedIn accounts from a single interface. Our founder, Will van der Zanden, will be joining Giles for this much anticipated session. So if you have any agencies in your network, or you are one yourself, or you're responsible for managing multiple LinkedIn accounts on behalf of your clients or your teams, then please pass on these details, because this edition is a complete game changer for those who are managing multiple LinkedIn accounts. So if I just throw the booking link directly into the chat function at the bottom of the dashboard there, then before we all disappear, then you can book on that immediately, straight away, now.
Cool. Thanks for that. Yeah, really excited about that one. And yeah, will be joining us and going through all of the functionality there, explaining everything, how that works, etc., etc.
Yeah, Giles and I have been having a play with it, haven't we? And it's yeah, it's really good.
Looks excellent. Just a quick one, if you are stuck or you need assistance, then via our support team, can you put their email address into the chat as well? Via our support team, all of our support actions are via the website or via email. If we can't fix it that way, we'll of course arrange a support call with myself or Will, or indeed our new member of the team, Scott, who you may have seen been announced on our LinkedIn channels, etc., etc. Then yeah, you'd get a support call. We also have booster and technical sessions, depending if you need specific support in certain areas or specific assistance with your process or solution building or whatever it may be. We can always arrange those sessions again via the link that you see there on the screen there.
Thank you very much. I've just posted in, so the info at duxsoup.com. That's the support. So I've just put that in the chat function. Someone was asking me, I've forgotten who it was, apologies, but someone was asking me how they get hold of all the details and all the links and stuff like that. It's all in the chat function at the bottom of the dashboard, so you can do a quick copy and paste of all that. You can also request the slides from the support team if you want a copy of these slides, and as we've both said earlier on, there will be a recording of the webinar which will come out to you via email later on.
Can I just very quickly, because I've just seen a couple of questions come in which I think we shouldn't ignore. Eric, will these activities automatically update in CRM? So again, if you want the integrations, the API, the different integrations with CRM, then you would need Turbo or Cloud. Yeah, the Pro version doesn't cover any of that at all. It's a low-cost, most simple version of Dux Soup. And Muriel has asked, can we start with the Pro version and move on to another one in some months? Of course. When you first install Dux Soup, you get Turbo for free for 2 weeks. But if you want to use the Pro version, you just subscribe to the Pro version. If you then want to migrate, or if you go for Turbo and want to downgrade to Pro, we can arrange that. Vice versa, if you go from Pro to Turbo, try it. We can arrange all of these scenarios, not a problem at all. Just contact our support team and they will help you walk you through those different solutions.
And I've just added a free trial link into the chat function as well again. So I sent it out earlier, but just sent it out again. So if you haven't used Dux Soup before and you haven't used the free trial function, then click on that link, go and register. You don't need to put your credit card details in. We don't need anything from you other than your desire to have a go. So go and have a go.
Cool. All right.
Thanks for that, Giles.
You're welcome, and speak to everybody in a couple of weeks. Thank you, Jo.
Thanks everyone for joining. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.